Introducing the reigning, defending, Inside Fighting host, Robby Sid Clark.
Michael, man, thank you so much for coming on the show on InsideFighting.com. I'm going to start it off with, Michael, for the people who don't know, has been in the UFC for a while now. He's an Ultimate Fighter winner, a 12-3 record in the UFC, 4-0 at welterweight. He's got some big wins over, at lightweight. Benir Darnoush is a huge win. Rafael Dos Santos at welterweight, and now coming off a huge win against Neil Magny as well too. So, Michael, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me on, man. Thanks for having me on. It's good to be here. And yeah, it's been a good run through a couple weight classes so far, but I still feel like I'm just getting started.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's funny. I mean, you're still young in your early 30s, but you've really not taken much damage in your career either, which is, I think, a lot of times almost more important than the age, depending where you're at. Because you see that some people are peaking early, or they get hurt early and they get in some wars, and then they might be 30, 33, but they're 43 in terms of miles on them. But so I wanted to start it off and ask you. I mean, you had some big news come out the past week. In Ali saying that Kamaru Usman was calling you out for a June 12th fight. And I thought that was, we started off there.
This is the first time I've really talked about it. I'm not a big, first it's hard to call it news because this is just Ali saying, I think this is, yes, Kamaru wants to fight with me. But it's not news because Ali's not the UFC. He might be one of the most prominent managers in MMA, but there's no deal. No deal has slid across my table. There's been, we haven't got. I mean, obviously my manager talked to Sean about it, but I don't know if that's really what the UFC is looking for. I know that they want to do the Covington fight. But look, I'm here. This is what I'm here for, so I'm not going to totally brush this off like it's nothing, because when the champion's talking about you, that's worth something. So, that's who I want. I want to fight the best guys. And like you said, I haven't taken a ton of damage. I've been building myself up for this moment. So, I think I could give the champ a good run for his money, if not beat him. I'm confident in my skills, and we'll see what happens. 6 weeks is a little slim when you're going to fight the pound for pound best guy in the world. But that opportunity slides across my desk. I'm not going to turn it down. Would I like more of a notice? Yeah, I would like an 8-week camp and a little bit of pre-camp. I'd like a championship camp is what I would like, and we'll see what happens. But, I'm not going to get myself too riled up about it, because this is something Ali is saying. This is not something that the UFC is saying. So once they start talking about it, then, there's no reason why it couldn't happen either. I think that, I understand Kamaru's standpoint. As a competitor and a fan, he already fought Colby, and Colby, he fought Tyron, and that's his only fight since, and he's kind of sitting on it. And you got guys like me, we're in the mix. We're fighting multiple times. I'm on a 4-fight win streak. Colby's only won 1 fight since then. So there's guys like myself, Leon Edwards. I mean, you got to understand, he's on an 8-fight win streak as well. There's other guys that are more deserving, So if I win the lottery in terms of guys that get to fight the champion, I'm going to take it.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think you brought up a great point as well, too, that it's, the activity that, you've been fighting and you've been winning against some top guys, and you've been an underdog in a lot of these, and you've come out there and with all respect to all the other fighters, you've been really dominant at welterweight. You've almost looked like a new fighter at welterweight as well, too, because I think you're just, into your, it's probably the right size for you. But, one thing that I noticed on the, I guess we'll call it an Ali call out, but he did place it right saying June 12th. I think that's the only way that a fight like that is possible, because he wanted such a quick turnaround, and he knows they want to book the Colby fight. You said the same thing. You got Leon booked to fight Nate Diaz. Yeah. So we'll just put it out and get to the next one. If Hunter or Sean Shelby or somebody gives you a call and says, "Hey, we got to fight June 12th," Michael Chiesa is ready to fight. So
you know how this works. You know how this works. It's one of those things where he says first. You listen to the Masvidal in a post-fight interview. He says he wants some time off, and he's earned it. You know what I mean? He wants to spend time with his daughter, things like that. But he's also the type of champion that he'll go home, take a couple of days off, and be like, I still feel good. I want to get out there and fight. You know what I mean? So I think I can see him being the type of guy to change his mind and want to get back in the mix. And, they kind of already announced that card. I don't know what's going on. All I know is I'm not I'm not going to get myself too riled up for something that could just turn out to be me kind of let myself down if it doesn't happen, you know? So I'm just going to continue what I'm always doing. I'm always training. I'm always in the gym. I'm not a guy. I don't sit around and wait for training camp to come around, you know, and I've had some time in between fights, but we had the pandemic, you know, if the pandemic didn't hit, I would have solidified my spot undoubtedly as number one contender. Cause I would have fought July last year. I would have went in and fought probably, you know, June or December, January, which I got to do this last January. But, yeah, you know, I'm always training. So when the opportunities arise, I'm always ready for them. So, yeah, when Hunter calls me, do you know how this business works when you bring up Hunter's name? When Hunter calls me, that's the call to answer.
Yeah, no, and that's cool. I saw after the Magny fight too. I thought it was you had a good call out of Colby there. But like you said, the two of them, they might be destined to fight there. I thought that would have been really cool at the time. I was like, it looked like Colby needed another fight, and I was like, well, man, you put Chiesa in there against the two. The winner of that's fighting for the belt. So if those two are going to get booked, is there any other fighters out there who you're looking at welterweight? Like, this might be a good challenge.
You know, I'm just looking ahead of me. Dude, there's guys ranked below me that are really good. The whole weight class is stacked. But I'm really aiming ahead of me, and I've earned that right to do that. I mean, there's no way I'm going to go, you know, way back to the bottom where the guys I feel are equally as tough as the guys that are ahead of me. But I want to start snatching those single digit numbers. And, you know, I got to solidify myself as the number one contender, and I got to beat the guys ranked ahead of me to do that. And so that's just kind of my MO. You know what I mean? There's just whoever's ahead of me, 6 through 1 and the champion. Those are the guys I want to fight. So we'll see how things shake out. We still got a few key welterweight fights going on. You know, we'll see what comes of them. And then I think that you'll see me in the Octagon by, you know, probably mid to end July. I think that's when I'll be competing again. So until then, I'll just be getting ready for whoever, man.
Nice. Yeah, no, you brought up a good point that I don't think a lot of people realize. There's so many disciplines in the sport. Everybody's so tough at every weight class. I mean, welterweight's really exciting now as well too. It's probably, you know, arguably the most exciting division out there right now. I mean, they kind of go back and forth, but no, it's a great point. Everybody out there is tough. Now, you've obviously been getting a lot of time on ESPN as well as an analyst, which you're doing an awesome job of, which is why they keep bringing you back, clearly, right? You're a very good communicator. Do you feel that has added anything to your game? Like, do you watch, analyzing these fights? Do you think it helps you?
Oh, 100%. This is something that I kind of addressed before the Neil Magny fight. He kind of, you know, he was under the impression that maybe I've strayed away from competition and I'm more focused on being a commentator and an analyst and things like that. And like it's something that goes against, that works against me. And I couldn't be any further from the truth. I have no kids. I have 2 dogs. I don't have to run a business. I don't have to run a gym. This is all I got. Like competition and commentary. That's it. So it's like, it's been a great tool for me to use because I usually break fights down, particularly in my weight class. You know, I'm always looking at how I match up with these guys and this, and it's always kind of derived around me. But now I'm starting to open my eyes from a different perspective when I'm watching these fights and taking myself out of the equation. And it makes it to where I'm able to pick up different tendencies than I wouldn't have picked up on before, because I'm looking at these guys. Oh, he's fighting so-and-so, or just if I'm studying a guy, I just study guys in general now. I mean, if I watch a fight card and, you know, I'll take notes on my phone, and you should see the notes in my phone is like a laundry list of stats and just things I've watched from different guys on different pay-per-views. I do that because I'm passionate about it. It's good for me. It's good for me to see the different nuances and tendencies that other fighters have and techniques and things of that sort. So it's been a big tool for me, and it's great. I love it. And then, you know, right now with, I've spent a lot of time training in Las Vegas in the past, and I'm always working at the Apex. So I fly to Las Vegas. I land at 10 a.m. I get like half the week, you know, because I do this fairly frequently. So I get half the week to train at home with my guys. And then I get half the week in Las Vegas to go, you know, I go to the PI and I work out with Bo Sandoval. I do a couple rounds of strength conditioning, go hit some mitts with some guys, go get some different looks, go to 10th Planet and roll. Just a lot of different things. So it's like, it's been, couldn't be any further from a positive for me, period. You know what I mean? So it's phenomenal. And I just love that. Like, I love this sport so much. I put everything I have into it. And it's like, it just, I know the more passionate I stay with it, the more, so many more good things come of it. I love just the fact that my life revolves around this sport. From the moment I wake up, from the time I go to bed, it's mixed martial arts. And it's always been that way. But now I'm getting to reap the rewards of my commitment to it. I'm getting these great opportunities. I'm getting just a lot of positives. So it's just been so valuable for me heading into this is now the best stage of my career. Everything is just lining up perfectly.
Yeah, I mean, from an outside perspective, I've got to agree with that as well, too. It's funny because I was watching the fights this weekend and you were on ESPN, and I'm like, oh, no, I was with a buddy who's, he doesn't watch UFC too often, and he's like, who are these guys there? Like, is that, I'm like, well, these are actually, they're fighters as well, too. And, he's a big football fan, and he's like, I got to tell you, like, not to compare, and I love all sports, but he's like, the analysts and fighters are very, you guys do a great job of seeing both sides. Like when they can't tell if you're a fighter or not, in an analyst or a player or not, that shows how impressive you guys are on the panel, right? So I thought that was pretty cool, and the fact that you're still so young to be on that panel there, it kind of, not that you're even thinking about at the end of your career or anything, but it really lines things up properly, because that's not an opportunity given to a lot of people.
Yeah, and the other thing too is, look, I'm a planner. I have a plan for everything. Everything has a plan.
So I'd be a liar if I told you like I'm not trying to set myself up for something down the road. But that doesn't mean that I'm dwelling on retirement. It's like I think Dana always says when guys bring up the R word, they should just be done. It's like I kind of disagree or actually I strongly disagree because I've been planning this for a long time. And I'm always thinking once I got a few years in the UFC and I'm winning some fights, I'm like, okay, what do I want to do? Where's my plan going to be? And I'm thinking this when I'm like 26 years old, 27. What's my plan going to be when I'm in my mid-30s? Where do I want to be? I want to be a contender. I want to be getting some desk gigs. I want to be working my way into commentary so then I can transition well when this is over. This is like a part of the long plan that I've had I was talking to John Anik about wanting to be a commentator when I was on Ultimate Fighter. So it's like, these are things that it's all part of my big plan, but it's not something like, I'm like, oh, I'm rushing. I got to get myself in because I got to have something when I'm retired. No, there's nothing like that at all. This is like, once I got on the Ultimate Fighter, started winning fights. I had the idea of what I wanted to do. And then once I won some fights and people started to say, I speak pretty decent on the mic. I'm like, okay, now it's time to start to get these wheels in motion. Now it's time to start picking at the UFC, figuring out who I got to talk to. And then, I'm 33 now. So to think that 9 years ago is when I really started pushing to try and start making these things happen. It's all just coming to fruition, so it's a part of my big plan. And I expect to someday be sitting up there, hopefully Rogan's still commentating pay-per-views when my time comes, but I look forward to those days when, down the road, hopefully I got a world title in some suitcase under my bed because I don't hang my trophies in my house. Hopefully there's a title belt under my bed and I'm calling fights with Joe Rogan and DC and those guys. And, I always like, you got to have a good role model. I feel like in the sports, someone that you can look towards. It's a role model and a peer, someone that's tangible. And DC's always been that guy for me. So it's like, even back in high school, I bought the same wrestling shoes as him. I was always been a fan of him for like my whole life. And now that we're colleagues in a sense, like I want to be like DC. And I feel like that is a great role model to follow, because if you kind of try to walk his line as best as you can, it can only lead you to good things. So having guys like DC that win world titles and did all this while commentating, working the desk and just all the things that he does and was doing while he was competing, it's great to have role models like that because it helps me guide my way through the sport.
Yeah, and DC, what he did, and again, he didn't take a lot of damage for the most part of his career, even at the end, a couple wars, but your prime example is somebody who you keep relatively fresh. I know he had a lot of training in the wrestling room, obviously, right? But the guy, he's charismatic, he's good. And hey, listen, nobody can say you're not manifesting it right now because everything you had outlined so far is coming through. And I'm sure you get it all the time, but what you've done at welterweight is so impressive. From your first Carlos Condit, one arm, Kimura twisting it back, like you just been so impressive at welterweight. But before I go on that topic, I wanted to get to, you said the Ultimate Fighter and brought it up. How was that experience for you in winning it there? And do you think it helped prepare you for just the magnitude of the press and everything that comes along with what the UFC brings?
Yeah, it does. I always say that the Ultimate Fighter is such a great format to have, and I know people are a little played out on it, but I think it's very vital for these guys to get the opportunity to compete on that show, because you are essentially, it's college for the UFC. You get there and you're having to learn about interviews and certain dialect, and you're starting to you get into a training room where you're around a bunch of UFC guys, and some guys have, back when I was on Ultimate Fighter, there wasn't a lot of like, I had never been hands-on with so many high-level guys in one room, and I think that's a little more common nowadays, but still, for a lot of these guys that make the show now, I'm not inclined to say who's on this season Ultimate Fighter. No, I'm not sure if that's public. But it's a good opportunity for these guys that they come from small gyms to be exposed to the big show, the bright lights, high-level training rooms, high-level coaches. Not taking any away from the coaches that got them there, but it's a good experience. But it is, especially for our season, man, it was 13 weeks long. So you're talking like a 3-month crash course in what life is going to be like in the UFC. So, and that's when I really started to kind of cement my goals in the sport. As I went further along in the tournament, I'm like, I'm actually going to come out of this whole gig, and I'm going to be a UFC fighter. And that's when I kind of started to get the wheels in motion about really what I wanted to do. I mean, my first press conference after the finale, I was already knowing, like, I felt seasoned being in front of the media, being in the spotlight and stuff. So I think it's very vital for these young fighters to get that kind of a window of 6 to 8 weeks, 13 weeks, 4 weeks, however long the shows are, because they've varied season to season. It's good to get that extended amount of exposure to being in the UFC.
Yeah, you made a lot of good points there, right? And I think that's something, because you do get, obviously there's always something in the media, whether it's from the media themselves or sometimes fighters, in regards to fighter pay and things like that. But there's also that other side of it, where the support that the UFC has, like you said, the Apex Center. I mean, you're going to the Performance Institute all the time, and those are really cool things. That, look, if you're at a boxing promotion or something, they're not offering that support, And you watch events like Triller that just, good on everybody for doing everything there. But obviously, for some of the fight fans, the production value of it could be lacking in some areas, and you do really see, like, they run a solid ship in many regards for the support, like you just said, on the Ultimate Fighter, and conditioning a fighter for what's about to happen.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's nobody that does it like the UFC. I mean, I'm not saying this as like a company man type stuff, but I am a company man for the UFC, but I'm saying this just taking that out of the equation of where I stand with the company. They do it better than anybody. I mean, dude, who would name one sports organization, even outside of combat sports, that had a facility built where they could have live games and fights during a pandemic? Everybody had to scramble to follow the model that Dana White set before this pandemic even happened. I mean, there's no other promotion. Nobody got laid off. Fighters got to keep fighting. People kept competing. World titles were won. People were getting paid. Nobody has done it better in the UFC, especially year by year. It's always something new. They're constantly evolving this young sport. And, Triller can sniff the UFC's jockstrap on their best day. They might be able to pull, these circus sideshow fights together and stuff, but they're nowhere in the league at the UFC. I don't feel like any sports organization at this point is. So fuck, man, that was a circus. I didn't watch it because I was working that night. I did get to catch the Askren fight, but reading all the tweets and stuff, it sounded like it was a total joke.
Yeah, just the production. But I find that in everything, like you said, the production is so much harder to pull off than anything else. And when you look at even pre-ESPN days, like, they were as polished as you could be given this. And everybody always improves, but, Ultimate Fighter 1 to your show to now, like, they just get more polished and they constantly learn. Whereas a lot of boxing today, you look at the production and you're like, it's just not on that level, but they're all following Dana's guidelines and what he's doing. I took a lot of heat for that, being like, UFC's back when the pandemic was going on, because people were like, oh, they're going too early, or this doesn't make sense. But you're right. I mean, he continues to prove it time and time again, right? They're very, very good at what they do.
Yeah, they really are. And the one thing that people don't know about Dana is that guy is hands-on Like he has a great staff. The staff that covers everything from production to the staff that handles the fighters on fight week, the commercials, everything. Every single thing goes through Dana White. This guy, there's not a promoter in the sport of, there's not a promoter in combat sports that's so hands-on with every single thing that involves their promotion. Like he is, if he doesn't like a commercial, he won't wait for it to go on air. He wants things fixed. He goes through every single thing. He watches the pre and post fight shows, and he has something to say about each guy that goes on there. He is hands-on with every single thing that the UFC does. And I think that really shows as to why it has such a polished product. He's got a great vision. It's there's a reason why everyone's trying to copy what he does. Everybody wants to, and then you see, everyone's putting up these bubbles and arenas and kind of doing the same stuff that he's doing. And what they did at Fight Island was phenomenal. I mean, what an experience that was to go there to work as an analyst was great. To go there as a competitor was almost even better,
Yep.
She kills it, man.
Yeah.
They're doing it right.
I don't want to, because I could go on that too. I've been trying to hype the sport for forever, and I think people see it now, and it's popular. But you being in it so long, it's tough to you want to be like, I told you so, right? So, but what do you think has been the biggest factor? I mean, you were very successful, like Benir, right? Like he's right at the top, and you were very successful at lightweight. But what do you think has been the reason you've been so successful now at welterweight? And do you prefer obviously fighting at 170 than 155?
Oh yeah. I mean, there's 100%. I liked the competition at lightweight was deep. I mean, the competition across every weight class is deep, but like I kept myself at lightweight because I was kind of one of those guys that I was very adamant about winning that title in that weight class, and I've always, my focus is always on the title. It's never been, I'm not in this sport to make money and cash paychecks. Like I'm in this sport I just want to be the best in the world. I think I get paid good, but I think I can make more money doing other things, other than competing. And actually, I know I could. And I'm here for just the competition, man. And unfortunately, I was fighting my body. The way I trained was it was counterintuitive to making lightweight. I was lifting weights all the time and getting big. I kept getting bigger, and then I kept having to make this crazy weight cut. And it made me almost in a way, like I got to a point where I kind of like almost was like turning away from the sport a little bit, because I train all the time, but once I'd get into camp, it was just this thing I dreaded the whole time because I'm just so everything's focused around cutting weight. So it was really counterintuitive as to what I was trying to accomplish. So now that I'm at 170 pounds, I'm big for the weight class. As once I finally quit holding my body back, my body just finally grew to where it's supposed to be. I'm walking around at 200 pounds, and I'm not fat and out of shape like I would be a lightweight. I'm in good shape, and I've just it's the way I'm able to nourish my body, as well as I know how to train now. Now I can train the way I need to train for my style. I can focus on the weights. I can focus very much on the grappling and the wrestling, and not have my body be so broken down because I'm just depleting myself all the time. And it's been so great. I mean, these weight cuts kill your confidence. It's hard for me. I can't speak for every other fighter, but I can speak for myself. When I'm having to make these drastic weight cuts, it was really sapping my confidence. And you got to be confident when you step in there on fight night. You got to go through all of fight week in a good state of mind to have good results. And in a 2-fight skid that, one was very controversial, and the other one was me being just too tough for my own good. Either way, it still led to 2 losses. And I was like, this is just 3 losses is almost career suicide. 4, you can't bank on getting another fight after 3 losses in a row. So I knew I had to change something. And that was the best decision I ever made, was to go up to 170 pounds, because it's giving me new life to sport. And kind of like you said earlier, I haven't taken a ton of damage. And that was always kind of like my biggest worry, was going to 170 pounds, have to deal with the harder punchers and absorb more damage in these fights. Getting bigger and being able to kind of sustain that kind of punishment against these bigger guys, I'm much more built for it now. So it's been great. And basically the 2 key components to this run has been A, not having to cut a ton of weight, and B, is just knowing how to train and knowing I can train properly for my style and be able to sustain the kind of work rate that I need to win these fights.
Yeah, I think, again, I mean, a lot of fighters move up because they can't make the weight, but, they go up and then they look a little bit softer at 170. It was immediate apparent when you were weighing in for Condit even that you looked more lean at 170 than you did at 155, because I think you were ultimately starving your body because you're tall as well too. So even being like, a Chandler or someone at lightweight who's, they got a lot of size, they're thick, but they're shorter, right? They got smaller bones than you. Like you're just a taller individual. Yeah. So, I mean, maybe they should be a little lighter so the cut might be more advantageous for them, whereas 170 because of your height, you really filled into that. And you look at like your back on the Magny fight, you can tell you're just like you're a full 170, if that makes sense. So that makes sense. I was going to ask you what you walked around at. What do you walk into the fights at? I think that's something a lot of people are always curious about, because you see like a guy like Kamaru who looks like it's an optical illusion how he even makes 170. But then come fight night, there's always, you guys weigh a lot more, and it's a big wrestling. It's different than boxing. You guys put on more weight. What is your fight night weight?
Well, dude, lightweight, I would be like 84, 85 on fight night. I'd get done with that cut and I'd put back on 30 pounds. And that's not good. That's like, people would say like, oh, that's your game in the system. You're just beating guys because you're bigger than them. I'm like, you don't know what putting back on that 30 pounds does not feel good, And I think this fight with Neil, I showed up on fight night. Biggest I've been for a welterweight fight. I think I was like 88, 89. But I still have to cut weight. And that's the thing I did when I made the decision to go to 170 pounds. I had a few training camps back to back. I was in decent shape, good shape. And when I made that decision to go up, I hammered the weights for like 3 months straight before I got into camp. I mean, I fought Carlos, the end of December. So I had 5 months to just I had 5 months between fights. So for 3 months, I was in the weight room almost every day. I was eating 6 eggs and 2 cooked cups of oatmeal every morning. I was, putting on serious mass, eating a ton of food, lifting a ton of weights, a lot of really heavy weights. And my body just like went through a spurt. Finally, it's like I was holding it back. So that's been the biggest thing as well. I think with the success to 170 is guys will get done with the weight class and go up a weight, but they won't change anything. And that's why they'll kind of look a little softer. They're just kind of like, they're going to do the same stuff they were doing before, just at a different weight class. So for me, I'm like, hell no, if I'm going to be a welterweight, I need to hammer the weights every day. I got to put size on. I got to maintain size. And it's a lot of work, but it's much, I'd rather put in the extra work doing what I'm doing now than to be cutting down to lightweight still. If I hadn't changed anything and just went up to 170, I don't think I would have had the success I've had. I would have, I think I would have won 4 fights in a row. If I would have going against a guy like Neil Magny, a true welterweight, a really big rangy guy who's, second in all-time wins at welterweight, I don't think I would have had the success I would have had against him if I wasn't so adamant about my strength conditioning regimen.
Yeah, and that was a great point. Like Neil Magny, that was a fight I was really looking forward to as well too. Because another thing I don't think people give you credit for is how good of a wrestler you are. Like you have a background in wrestling as well too. And I knew, if there's one area where maybe Neil has shown an area of weakness, but he's been good against wrestlers as well too. And that's a really telling fight right there too. And you definitely controlled the wrestling in that fight as well too. So it was really impressive. What is there one moment that you've had so far in the UFC, whether it's a walkout, a fight, or whatever it might be, winning the Ultimate Fighter, maybe that was like the biggest moment for you so far in your career, where you look back and you're like, that was a good feeling?
Yeah, the Ultimate Fighter is a tough one to beat. It's not just like just winning the show. It's like everything that went with it. Having to go through all the stuff with my dad passing away and having to battle through those fights, and then having the finale be on my mom's birthday. Like you just can't, it's like, it seems scripted, so that'll be a tough one to beat. Next to that one, the only thing that could ever top that would be winning a world title. I mean, that's just like, that was a big achievement for me. And I think the closest thing next to that I've had, I'd say would be that last fight against Neil, finally getting that main event win in Abu Dhabi on Fight Island, international fight. I'm pretty critical of my performances, and there's always stuff I could do better. I'm not a complacent guy. I don't like get a win, and I'm not complacent on a win. I'm always trying to pick myself apart. In that fight, I was like, I had a good sense of pride. Like went back and watched it, I was pretty proud of myself. A lot of people might have been like, oh, it wasn't the most exciting fight, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, you guys aren't paying my bills. So I got, if I can go out and do what I do best and shut a guy down and get my win bonus, I'm going to do that, but yeah, the Ultimate Fighter, that's a tough one to beat, man. That was a crazy experience.
Yeah. Hey, I got a question on that. And I was having a conversation with one of my buddies and talking about the fight win bonus. And here was I wanted to get your take on this as an analyst and just a bright mind in the sport. I understand back in the day why they did fight and win bonuses to incentivize people, especially when there was a lot of part-time fighters. There's no part-time fighters anymore in the UFC, really. I mean, you get the occasional one who comes in and he might do something on the side, or a Stipe Miocic, right, who works, obviously, and that's just, he doesn't need to, he chooses to. What are your thoughts about almost splitting the difference if the UFC were to, say it's, $50K to fight, $50K to win, giving a guarantee of like $80K instead, as opposed to a fighter, a fight and win bonus like they have now? Because like you said, everybody's tough, everybody's incentivized to fight. Do you think that would change things, or what are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's tough to say. I know that there's guys that have different types of contracts. I know guys, they just released Diego Sanchez's pay because they paid him. He was making like a guaranteed 120 with a smaller win bonus. I know guys, and I'm not going to name names because I'm not going to air people's business out there, but I know guys that have finishing bonuses in their contracts. Guys that they have different types of contracts to incentivize fighters. There's guys, I think more of the veteran guys are getting like an 80-20 type of contract. It just all depends on what they negotiate, and maybe someday I'll do that, but I'm very happy with what I'm getting paid right now. Look, everybody always wants to get paid more. They can pay us all $1 million and then we'll want to. It's always going to be in any profession, whether you're a fighter, you're a real estate agent, you're a stockbroker, you're anybody, you're always going to want more. That's just very commonplace in the real world. So, I think that there's different types of contracts for different fighters that get worked out. But yeah, I'm not opposed to it. I think it's great. I think we're still evolving as a company. We're still evolving as a sport. So we'll see what happens down the line.
Yeah. No. Okay. So I want to do a couple Canadian questions to finish this one off. I know you fought in British Columbia in 2011. I was wondering if you've been anywhere else or done some training in Canada besides that.
I actually almost got trapped in Canada. I came up to Ottawa to do a seminar with Carlos Condit before the Yoel Romero Izzy Adesanya pay-per-view. And then I was there that weekend. And then it was like everything starting to kick off with COVID. And I think that they closed the border like the day after I got home. I got home on Sunday. I think they closed the border that Monday. They're like, hey, so I don't know if and I wouldn't be mad about it because I love Canada. This is the longest I've gone without going there. I usually go there a couple times a year. I actually live like 40 minutes from the border. So I'm, I like to consider myself, I'm one with the people up in the great north, but I've been all over Canada. I go ski in Banff a lot. I've been to Ottawa, I've been to Nova Scotia, I've been all over British Columbia, Vancouver, Kelowna, Victoria, places like that. I actually tried to buy a piece of land in Kelowna back in 2016, but it kind of didn't work out. But I love Kelowna, man. I love Canada in general. It's a place that I fit in there. I fit in there with the culture, you know what I mean? The sports. I used to play hockey growing up. I'm a big time snowboarder. I actually, I would like to get Canadian citizenship someday. I've actually had discussions with an unknown. I'm not going to say my guy's name, so I don't know if that'd be a good or bad thing. He works within the Canadian Parliament, but yeah, I would like to be
I'm sure Ariel would like to.
I'd like to be a part-time Canadian. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be opposed to it.
That's good. Yeah, I was going to ask you what you thought about when you hear Canada, because most people, are not as experienced as you there, so you have too much to say on that topic, no, that makes sense. Listen, do you have any messages for fans or anything out there, or anything in general that you wanted to get out or talk about?
Just anything for the fans, man. Just want to thank them. Always want to thank the fans. The fans are what make this sport possible. We wouldn't be able to do what we do without the fans. I have a ton of gratitude for the fans of the sport. It doesn't even have to be my fans in general. It's just the fans as a whole. They make this whole thing possible, and we couldn't be, us as fighters, we're beyond thankful for them, especially with how everything panned out in this last year. it's the fans that really kept this going and kept this sport moving. And we wouldn't be where we are without them. So as always, much gratitude to the fans all around the world.
Amazing, man. Yeah, we're excited to get the borders open up so we can get get back to UFC events and really just go back to a normal way of life. But listen, Mike, man, I really appreciate your time here. Thank you for doing this interview. It means a lot. I was really excited for this, and I appreciate you coming on the show, man.
Thank you. Maybe one of these days I'll meet you up north and grab a couple Molsons, split a little dish of some poutine, and tear it up a little bit, eh?
I'm here. I'm down for it. I'll get back to all the rest like you a little bit. Would be fun. So yeah, no, man. Thank you so much, and looking forward to it, man. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too. Peace out, brother.
Take care.